Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, or good night, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to the Microsoft Learning Experience Studios in Redmond, where we're going to look at getting the most out of your Office 365 trial and take you through the whole process of signing up. My name is Martin Kutzer, and I'm with Larry, and we want to welcome you to this event, and I hope you enjoy this with us and learn something today. So let's get started. I just want to give you an idea of who I am. My name is Martin Kutzer. I'm the portfolio architect at Microsoft Learning Experiences, where I'm responsible for the MCSA for Office 365, as well as the MCSE for messaging, that's Exchange, Communications, Link, and SharePoint. So I'm responsible for those exams. But before I joined Microsoft Learning Experiences, I was responsible for being a consultant in the field. And I deployed Office 365 like I'm sure many of you are responsible in doing today. I also deployed Exchange and Link and Forefront Identity Manager. And then as I transitioned into this new role, I started doing Office 365 deployments as well. And before that, I had a life of being a software developer back in the days of mainframe programming. So that's my background. And with me is my co-host, Larry. And Larry, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Absolutely. So my name is Larry Kay, and my title is a Senior Product Manager in Certification, also at our Learning Experiences group. I have about 22 years of IT experience. I started as a developer, worked with a number of languages and a number of platforms on the desktop, enterprise, as well as mobile. And then I switched over to the learning and consulting area about 15 years ago. And so I've been doing that ever since. But my primary focus is on developer and SQL. So I haven't had a chance to really play with Office 365. So I'm here, excited to be taught by Martin here.
So that is the reason why we got Larry here, is because he's fresh to Office 365. Even though he may have used that as a user and interacted with the Office clients, he's never used Office 365 from an administrative point of view. So he's going to bring a fresh perspective to this whole experience and keep me on my toes and make sure that I don't cheat or do something that is going to neglect you guys out there. So with that, I think this is a great time to get started. So this course is divided into 5 modules. We're going to cover a whole bunch of things. So I hope you stay with us during this day and see what Office 365 has to offer. So the first thing that we want to cover is what is Office 365? Understand the application and the services that is available in Office 365. Office 365 is a really big and something that people struggle to understand sometimes because they think it's a product. It's not a product. So we want to go over that and make sure that you understand what Office 365 actually includes. Then we're going to go into demo mode. So Module 2 covers the getting started with the Office 365 trial. This is where we're going to do the complete sign up and show you what to do and what to expect and how do you actually play with your Office 365 trial. Then we're going to get deeper into Office 365. We're going to look at what services are available, what applications can you install, and also how do you configure settings in there. Then we're going to configure optional settings with Module 4. We're going to look at more detailed things that you may want to do with Office 365 as you get confident with Office 365 and as you want to use all the functionality that's available. And then finally today we want to wrap up, make sure that there's some go-dos for you to do, and also show you some other options that if you're interested, more training, maybe you want to get certified, so we want to just point those out to you as well. So that is a day, our training for the day. Larry, do you think we've covered everything?
Sounds good. Can't wait to get started.
Sure. Okay. So in terms of expectations, everybody is welcome, but to make sure that you get the most out of today, we want to make sure that you are a IT professional that is actually interested in evaluating and deploying Office 365 in your organization. So maybe you've heard of this cloud thing, your friends have told you, maybe the CIO has told you, let's do a pilot or let's investigate this further. This is then the right place for you to be. You don't need any experience with Office 365. So we're going to take you from the basics and take you through the whole Office 365 experience. But, obviously you need to know something about deployment and have interest in that, or, the products associated with that. So that is really what we intend our audience to be. And Larry is going to try and fulfill that role. He's going to be the guy that wants to deploy. So
absolutely.
I think in terms of a scenario, Larry is going to represent a company that is interested in Office 365.
Okay.
And he needs to think about, what are the things that they want to do during this deployment process and so on. So that is his role today.
Excellent.
Okay. So it's important to note that this is the MVA community, and today there are more than 2 million subscribers out there, and we are incredibly proud of that achievement. And this is where we have so many people that look at training on demand and live events like today. So we have training on all sorts of products, Microsoft products. And for today, if you use this voucher, you can get 50 MVA points to stack up those points and get up the ladder and show your manager and your colleagues that you are a lifetime learner. Okay, so let's get cracking. Module 1. So Office 365 applications and services is something that I think is really important to frame today. Office 365, as I said before, is not just a product that you go and buy. You can go to a store, any store, and ask for Office 365, but they're probably going to give you the client Office 365 that you install on your machine. But Office 365 is much more than that. It is a collection of applications and services that you use on a subscription basis. And so it is really important to call out all those different functions and all of those different things that is available to people, so they can fully utilize Office 365. So in this module, we're going to look at Office 365 in detail. We're going to look at all the different components that's available. And then we're going to look at the plans in addition, because there are different plans for different markets. We have plans for enterprise customers. Those are really large customers, so customers that we regard as more than 300 users actually qualifies for enterprise. Then we have small and mid-sized business customers as well. So those are on the small side up to 25 users, and on the mid-sized business up to 250 300 users around there. And then we have special plans for government users, education users, and non-profit users. So we're going to look at the differences between those and why you should go for certain of those plans and which one will suit your organization. So Office 365, the overview. This is the topic that will frame the day. So what is Office 365? Office 365 starts with that familiar Office that everybody uses. The Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. That package of Office applications is part of Office 365.
So it won't be totally foreign to me then.
No, so these are the applications that you use on a daily basis. So the ones that you use to create PowerPoint presentations or your spreadsheets and so on. So first of all, those are the ones that are on PCs, but you also get Office for Mac, of course. You get Office for iPad. You get Office Mobile for some other tablets. You get Office for some of the phones. So Office is pervasive in a lot of devices. It's almost everywhere. Then we also have the services. So these are the back-end services that are available for customers to use. And the first one of those are business class email and calendaring. So those of you that are familiar with Exchange, Microsoft Exchange, and you may have run this or are running this currently in your organization, this is the normal Exchange that you use in those circumstances where you log on every morning. Most people that I know, the first application that they run or open is Outlook. And that's the last application that they close.
Guilty as charged.
Yep. And that sort of just drives their whole day. What happens in Outlook? So this is one of the big services that is available in Office 365 is a messaging service that includes email and calendaring, just like you have in Exchange.
Great.
Then we have online conferencing. Online conferencing using Link Online gives you the ability to have instant messaging. It gives you the ability to have online meetings with whiteboards, and people can connect from all over the world, and you can have very productive meetings using Link Online. Then we also have secure file sharing. So with secure file sharing with OneDrive for Business, this is where you can go and upload your documents up to the cloud, and you can then make it available to other users if you want to share that, or you can make it available to other PCs. So you may have a PC at home and you have a PC at work, and you want to synchronize the content between the two, and you would use OneDrive for that. So nice file sharing capabilities. We also have web hosting. So using SharePoint, you can have web hosting either for things like team sites or project sites, wikis, blogs, things like that, or even your public-facing website. So you can host your public-facing website with all the bells and whistles in interactivity that you want from a public-facing website on SharePoint Online. And then all of this is supported by the security, compliancy, and privacy that you can trust. So this is something that Microsoft takes really serious, and they want to make sure that it is securely deployed, it is securely used, and it's compliant with all the laws out there in the world. There's so many laws out there depending on industries that you're in, depending on geographic places that you are. You have to comply with these laws, and Microsoft will make sure that we comply with those laws. And we even have a specific website that you can go and you can read up on all of those things, our Trust Center for Office 365, and you can go and see how we comply to the laws that is applicable to you. So the first client, or let's talk about the client quickly. So with Office 365, you have the Office client that is available that you can install on up to 5 PCs, depending on what plan do you sign up. The enterprise plans, some of them come with up to 5 devices. So you can install Office on your work PC, your home PC. You may have a laptop as well, a travel PC. So you can install Office on all of those devices. And remember that you're going to save your documents on your OneDrive, so it's also going to be available on all of those devices. And with OneDrive, it's synchronized back to your machine, so it's even available offline.
Wow, that's a very different experience than in the box software.
Yeah, so with this experience, you'll be able to do cool features like author spreadsheets. 2 people can author the same spreadsheet. If you share a spreadsheet with that person, two people can actually work on the same spreadsheet at the same time, or if you have if you use something like OneNote, you can use that as well. So there's things that really spans the capability of just that one PC. It's about sharing and collaborating with all sorts of people out there.
Stuff.
And you have access to all of this in all your different devices. So if you're an iPad user, you can use it on your iPad, or if you have a mobile device, you can open up those documents on your mobile device and consume that content on there as well. So in terms of the email system, the email system is a world-class email system, as we say, that is backed up by a 99.9 uptime guarantee. So we provide you that SLA where people have that assurance from Microsoft that if it goes down, and it goes down for more than 99.9%, or if it goes down for more than 0.1%, then you get credit for that in your subscription. So that is a nice guarantee to have from any type of service provider in terms of a SLA, that you know that, as I mentioned, email is business critical for a lot of organizations. Even if you go up to the C-level, the CIO and the CEO, those guys, they use Outlook every day. So if Outlook is down, they may not have access to their calendar, and they may have a problem to see what's their next appointment. Where do I go to next? So a 99.9% guarantee is quite important to those guys. We also have the ability to sync your email to your phone. So if you have any type of smartphone like that supports ActiveSync, you can then synchronize your email and calendar to that device and have access to that information on the go as well. So, there's always those opportunities where you want to check in, see if you have any email, and if you have access to that on your phone, then you can be so much more productive. But what if you lose your phone? Then, you don't want people to have access to that data. So, accidents happen. You may be in a taxi and you use your phone, you put it down, you got out of the taxi and you left your phone behind.
I once had a phone actually slip into a sewer grate in Singapore, so that was...
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, wow. Yeah, so in those cases, you want to make sure that your data is not compromised and nobody gets access to your data. So
For sure.
With ActiveSync, you have the ability to actually go and remote wipe that device and make sure that all the email and calendaring information that was left on that device is wiped, and it's not available to anybody that picks up that phone and won't be able to access it.
Wow, that's a great feature.
And you can also set up policies on that phone so that if somebody wants, if you leave your phone behind, sometimes you don't know, you haven't realized yet that your phone is gone. So somebody gets access to the phone, but you want to make sure that there's a policy on that phone that requires somebody to enter a PIN before they can access the phone. So you can make sure that this Exchange Online enforces a policy on the phone and make sure that every time somebody wants to use the phone, a PIN is entered.
What happens if they try to keep re-entering the PIN?
So if they're going to try and guess a PIN, it's going to go and wipe the device eventually.
Oh, nice.
Yes, so that people won't be able to access your data.
That's great.
So those are some of the things that you can go and enforce on your devices, and you can have different policies for different users to make sure that maybe you have some users that can't remember a PIN and they made an executive decision to say, I'm not going to have a PIN on my phone. So you can exempt them from that policy. You can tell them that it's a bad idea, but they still you can exempt them if they make a decision like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then also you can have things like, maybe you want to block certain types of phones and not allow them to connect and so on. So you can do all of those things. Office 365 also provide you with a 50 gig mailbox. A 50 gig mailbox, in my experience, and I'm from the days where back 20 years ago, when you got a 5 meg mailbox, you were a very important person. And so with a 50 gig mailbox, you can keep a lot of mail in your mailbox.
With a lot of attachments, too.
Yes,
yeah.
with a lot of attachments. So you don't have to ever delete something. With a 50 gig mailbox, you can just keep on piling and piling emails in your mailbox. And there's
And if you want a good book on productivity and keeping your inbox, I've got some solutions for that.
Okay, yeah. So if you're one of those persons that just piles mails in your mailbox, we've got you covered, because search works wonderfully in Outlook. So if you're looking for that old mail that somebody sent to you 5 years ago, you can just use search and it will find it right there in your inbox.
Because it doesn't just look in the text of the email, does it?
Yes, it looks in the emails, it looks in attachments, it will look everywhere to find that mail. But you may be one of those persons that are very organized and want to file mails. And for that, you have inbox rules. The normal inbox rules that everybody is used to in Outlook also applies here. And you can do things like move mails that are sent from your manager automatically to deleted items.
That's a good one.
Or you can move mails that are sent to specific the distribution list to some folders that you may want to look at later. It's not part of your normal work. So some people like to do those kind of things. So inbox rules works just as they work in Exchange with Outlook. They work the same with Office 365.
Great.
Now, people want to use their domain. So if your company is contorso.com, you want to use contorso.com as your domain. And we allow you to use contorso.com in your environment for your messaging solution. So when we do the sign up later, you'll see that you have to sign up a new domain that registers, that becomes your initial default domain, but you can then later change that to your domain. So you don't have to use a funny domain like a consumer domain. You can use your company's domain for email. Then we also got you covered on enterprise class legal discovery and compliance. So if somebody needs to find any legal information, we give the administrators the ability to find that information in your Outlook and in your Exchange system across all your users. Because this is in the cloud, it's available everywhere. So you can also manage it from anywhere. So administrators also do have lives. And sometimes they want to play golf, but and they are sometimes in airports, and you get a call from somebody, there's something wrong, or you need to configure something quickly. You will be able to just access that system from the internet and do the necessary changes that you want to do. Also important is that security. Make sure that there is no spam, no viruses that's coming through to your inbox, and we do that with the Exchange Online Protection. And then this is a ad-free mailbox. So we're not going to display any ads because you subscribe to the service, you pay for it. We're not going to show any ads that is not applicable to you or is out of context, stuff like that. So this is going to be your professional mailbox for your organization. With Link Online, you have the ability to have these conferences and link multiple people to the same meeting across the internet, and they can meet from anywhere. This can potentially save you a lot of travel costs, and I've seen many companies that adopted this way of having meetings so that they don't have to travel to each other and waste a lot of time in airports and traveling and so on, and costs. Again, meet from anywhere that you have access to the internet, and you have the ability to make calls with this link. So if somebody else is running link on their side, you can make a call for them and save a lot of costs in that way, or even just type in instant messages to them. So depending on the modality that's correct at that point. Maybe you just received the email from somebody and you want to reply to that immediately. So you have that little gumdrop that is lit up that will show that the person on the other side status is green, and you can just have a conversation with instant messaging right there on your machine and clarify something quickly with him. So all of those things will be available on your fingertips. When you have meetings, you can have these abilities to share your screen, show a presentation, explain to people what's happening. You can give them control to go and do something on your screen. All of those things, make everybody part of that collaborative experience, like a meeting room where everybody can draw a picture on the whiteboard. All of that will be available. And then
Excellent.
You will see who's who. If people use video, you can have video calls with them, and you will be able to see who's the active speaker, and it will be displayed in Link. So all of this is available inside of the Link client, but it's also lit up in Outlook. So when you get emails, you see who's online and who's available to chat. So here at Microsoft, we often see that people work late in the evenings, and you can see that 11 o'clock in the evening that somebody is online and he's green, so maybe you can start chatting. And
so you can switch modalities between the email and Link that easily. That's very cool. And because like within Link, if you bring up their contact card, then you can also bring up an email window to send them a message.
So it's all integrated. Yeah. It's great. Very natural, moving from one modality to another modality. And then you can also use Link Online to connect to Skype. So if you have users that is in Skype, that is on the Skype network, you can instant messaging with the Skype users and have voice conversations with your Skype users. So it's not just Link Online users, it's also Skype users. So you don't have to use a separate client for that. And the nice thing about the Link conversation is that is then saved on your inside of Outlook as a conversation, so you have a track record of that.
And you can search that too within the
inbox,
then right?
That's searchable as well.
Very cool. And then that's not just limited to the integration with Skype, but indeed like any IM client that's out there, you'd be able to add those individuals to your contacts, right, and be able to message them within Link.
What you would do is you would add Skype users today to Link. So any Skype user, you would just add them to Link, and they will appear as a Skype user to that list. So that is what is available today to add, and that's public IM connectivity that is available in Link. Share files simply. So file sharing is one of those workloads that has been available for as long as I can remember, as long as my IT career. People wanted the ability to save files that they created on some file server. And in a way, that is still what people want to do. I create documents and I want to save it somewhere. But putting it just on a file server is really primitive these days. You want to put that on your OneDrive, where you can share those files. So if I create something and I want to make it available to my colleagues, to you, Larry, and I want you to go and review something, I can just click it in my OneDrive, share it to you, and then write the message, say, this is a document that we talked about in the meeting. Will you please review it and let me know if you're done with that?
So I don't have to open up a console prompt in FTP?
No.
Oh,
no.
Cool.
So
I missed that though, but
yeah. So this is, and then as I said, with OneDrive, the client, you will be able to synchronize that down to your machine and make it available offline while you are in an airplane. You also want to work on those documents, and then once you're back online, it will sync up the changes back to your OneDrive.
That's great. So you don't have to manually worry about keep track of what files you've changed.
Yep.
That's powerful.
Okay, so then you will also be able to share these files with people that are external, not just people that is inside of your organization. So if somebody has got a Microsoft account that, the Outlook.com accounts and so on that you use to sign up for the store, if they have an account like that and they're not part of your organization, you can also share files with them and you can make it available for them to go and edit and so on. So it doesn't just limit itself to your organization, but also to external contacts, people that you work with partners and so on. So if you have the Live ID, as they used to call it, or the Microsoft account, you can share that document with them directly.
But wait, doesn't that compromise security if you're giving them access to these files on your OneDrive?
Well, you make a choice deliberately to say, I want to share this file with this person. And then you can take away that permission afterwards as well. So it's not like you're giving them access to all your OneDrive files.
Oh, so just limit to the single file. As
to that single file or a
Okay.
single folder that you want to share with them.
Gotcha.
So not everything. And then you have the power of social networking where you can collaborate and make comments and things like that, just like you would have inside of SharePoint. And you can have things like check-in files and so on and so on.
Oh, great.
As I said, where this is different from file servers is you can go and search for documents. So you have a powerful search engine to go and find these things and make sure that they are accessible from, or that you can find them wherever you are using the search engine that is inside of SharePoint. You can then synchronize these team sites and project emails, so you can have sites that also includes all the emails that are part of your maybe a project site or a team site, so that everybody can upload their documents to that and you have a central repository, or even build blogs or wikis for your internal users to go and find information. Maybe you need something like a help desk site where people can do some self-service stuff. You can create a nice SharePoint site that makes that information available to them.
Great.
Web hosting, for your website, your public website, you can use Office 365 to get your name out there. You can show your site using the SharePoint templates, using all the SharePoint functionality where you can upload documents to that. Maybe you have white papers or something like that that you want to make available to your customers, or you want people to submit forms or questions on that SharePoint site. So you can really create a very interactive, creative site using this SharePoint site and make that your public website and make it really engaging and something that people would want to visit, not just a stale website with a bunch of pictures of the CIO or the CEO. It could be a website that's really useful to people that they visit often. It would be really easy to build because most of these things are templates that you just modify, and you change that and change the fonts and use themes and make it the way you want to make it look, and make it really easy for people to maintain. They can upload documents to that, and you don't have to wait long to publish the website. You make your changes and make it available immediately, and that's your website. You carry on, and people will start using it. It is included as part of your Office 365 subscription, so you don't need additional hosting fees to host this. You don't need to hire experts to do this. Anybody that can use Word will be able to use this SharePoint to go and create a good looking website. So at the end of the day, you will save a lot of time managing your public website.
Excellent.
So all of this, as I said, is built on security that you can trust, privacy that you can trust. So we built in security through all the layers. We have all the protection built into the system that makes sure that it is not compromised. It is protected, and people that don't need access to your system or don't have access to your system wouldn't get access to your system. So you have controls inside of the system. Obviously, you create users and you give people rights so that they can use the services in those users. So the example that you use when you share a file with somebody on the external, that's something that you control. That's something that is in your ability then also to take away again. So if it's no longer needed for somebody to have access to a file, you remove that access, that permission. But it's all controls that is in your available to you as part of the Office 365 administration. So everything runs over secure protocols. It is protected using SSL and available to users or it's protected so that users don't there's no wire security compromises and things like that. All data is protected from and we make sure that it's private. So it's your data. We don't look at that data to get advertising information from it. It's your data. So it's indexed so that you will be able to search it. But we don't use that data to harvest that for advertising information. Again, you have extensive privacy controls. You can say how much you want to make available. So on your public website, obviously, when you make that available, that will become available on the internet for everybody to see, but you're in control to do those things. And then you can take your data whenever you want. So if you want to close your account, you can just take your data and there will be no more copies of that on Office 365. We also look at continuous compliance. So as part of the Office 365 team, there's a lot of laws, as I said before, that we have to comply to make sure that whatever country out there with their laws, regulatory compliance is necessary, we comply to those, and you don't need to worry about that. And as I said, there's a website, the Trust Center for Office 365, that you can go and check if the specific laws for your country or your industry is listed on there, that you can make sure that we do comply with those. We also independently go and verify our data center. So some of people need to know that we comply with some ISO standards for our data center. So how do we make sure that nobody have access to your data? So we get these independent bodies to come and verify that we do comply with those standards, and as they evolve, continue to comply with those standards. And then finally, all of this is done with transparent operations. So our data locations, who has access to those, are known according to these standards. So these standards mandate that we need to comply with those things. The visibility of availability and changes to service. So inside of the Office 365 portal, we have a message center that shows you what's happening and if there's something wrong with a service or a component in the service, we can highlight that to you. And finally, all of those things are financially backed up with the 99.9% uptime guarantee. So it is really a world-class system that makes security, compliance, and privacy a top priority for all the customers in Office 365. So that was Office 365, all the different components. We talked about the client that is available on all the devices. We talked about the email system, Exchange Online, that gives you email and calendaring. We talked about Link, and we also talked about the SharePoint capabilities, the OneDrive capabilities, file sharing, and we also talked about the security and the standards that we comply to.
Quite a powerful suite of components.
Yes, no, so it is definitely a lot of components that takes a time to get used to, and it's sometimes a bit overwhelming. And that is also part of the plans that we have available is some of these things are maybe not applicable to you, and you may not want to buy them, or you want to only focus on the things that you
Right.
need.
One size doesn't necessarily fit all.
Yes. So for that reason, we have these different plans that is available to our customers. So we have the Office 365 plans. Some of them are focused on consumers. So you can go and buy Office 365 Home, Personal, Online, which gives you services like Skype and OneDrive, the consumer side of the business. So the Office client that you buy there is Home and Student, or Home Premium. So those are the more on the consumer side. And then on the business side, we have Small Business Premium, which is up to 25 users. And then we have Mid-size Business, which is up to 300 users. But I do have to also just tell people that this is going to change. So the Small Business Premium and the Mid-size Business plans are going to be merged. They're going to be merged into one plan from the 1st of October into Office 365 Business. So just Office 365 Business, and there's going to be some options in there. So maybe you just want the Office client, so that would be Office 365 Business. Or maybe you just want the services, so Exchange Online, SharePoint, and so on. That would be Business Essentials. Or if you want both, it would be Business Premium.
Gotcha. So it'll simplify the
Yes.
buying decision.
So if you don't need to worry about, I'm currently 25 users, and I think I'm going to be 24 users next year, or maybe 26 users. So should I go for Small Business Premium, because that is really what I need
Gotcha.
at this stage. So we're going to simplify that into
So room for growth.
And it's up to 300 users.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing I noticed on the commercial services, I know that we talked about many of these, but what's the Yammer component about?
Oh, so Yammer is the social site, and we're going to look at that later. But
Great.
Inside of Office 365, we also have Yammer, where you will be able to go and have conversations, just like a Facebook interface, but more business orientated, where
Interesting.
people can post things, and people can comment on those posts, and post pictures and things like that. So a really nice tool for people to collaborate in a business environment and find experts and so on in the organization.
Common theme, the collaboration piece here, huh?
Yes, yeah, and this is really about collaboration and business productivity, making sure that customers have the right systems and so on available to them to be really productive, end to end, from the client right to the internet in the cloud.
Excellent.
Then we all have on the far end, we have the Office 365 Enterprise Solutions, which is the solutions that is available for users to run the full suite of products, and there's multiple plans of those. So here's a detailed slide of what you get with those different plans. So it's not really that important to go into all of these details.
It's a lot of dots.
It's a lot of dots, but you can see there that on the left side you get a few features. You still get a 50 gig mailbox, which is awesome, but all the way on the other side there's a 50 gig mailbox, but there's so many other features that is available as part of your Office 365 subscription. And some enterprises running on Office 365 with hundreds of thousands of mailboxes needs those features to be able to run in their environment. So
Yeah, some of those advanced services sound really interesting. We're going to get to that later, right?
yeah, so the advanced services will include things like archiving and data leakage protection, some Excel access Visio services, directory synchronization, where you go and synchronize your local directory and so on. And then on the Office client, you have the ability on the enterprise side to go and manage your deployment, and we'll go into all of those features a little bit later. So depending on your organization size and your needs, then you will be able to find what's the right plan for you. So to just wrap up in terms of what will influence your decision. So the size and type of your organization is important. So if you're a government organization, then you might qualify for the government plans and the options that is available for the government plan. You have to prove that you are, for example, when you sign up for the non-profit plan, that you are a non-profit organization.
Of course.
Because there's discounts associated with those plans. But you need to prove that you're one of those. Also, education institutions, they also qualify for different plans, but again, you have to prove that you are a educational institution.
Right.
If you want office applications, some of the plans actually require office applications or includes office applications, some of them don't. Maybe you have office already, so you don't need it, or you have devices that is always online, so you want to use the online versions of the products. So there might be reasons why you don't want to use the office applications, and then you would go for those plans. And then there could be advanced functionality, and there's a link where people can go and actually look at the differences between all of these plans. So this is an end-to-end table of what's available for Office 365. So that brings us to the end of Module 1. And in this module, we looked at an end-to-end view of what is Office 365. We looked at it's not just the Office client that people are used to, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of those things. It is much more. It's the services that is available in the cloud that people subscribe to, that they can look at and they can actually use on a daily basis. And then we also looked at the different Office 365 plans and additions that's available. So depending on your size of your organization, depending on what functionality you need, you may want to sign up for different plans. So we showed you some of those plans. We talked about the small plans for small organizations, and that this will change so that it's one business plan that is available. So with that, we're going to take a break for 10 minutes, and then when we come back, we're going to start using Office 365, and we're going to get busy and start getting our fingers dirty and use those services.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, see you soon.